Obviously, to recap, Saturday's loss, disappointing loss. It's felt a little bit like Groundhog Day in the sense of being so close versus really good teams. That JMU team is a really good football team. We hung with them the whole game in a game that we should have won, and we believe that. And that's 4 games now where we've lost, a total point differential of 12 points. 3 of those teams being ranked, and one of those teams that we're going to have another opportunity at this week. And so that was kind of my messaging to the team this morning, is that we have another opportunity at a team that we lost to, that we felt like we could have surely beat, and we didn't take advantage of it. And we got 1 week left guaranteed together. A lot of seniors on this team, a lot that have invested just not just here at Washington State, but just overall, just trying to become a great culture here and have added to our success and what we've tried to do and the competitive product that we put on the field. So we owe it to them to come out with the right energy and coach with enthusiasm and be present and not think about anything but that. And that will be our focus moving forward. And this game can punch our ticket into a bowl game. So that's been our focus. That will be our focus, and we're going to come out and play with the right energy for our last home game here. So excited for it.
Just talk about the senior class a little bit. Obviously, kind of a unique situation where you have guys you've been with for 5-6 years and guys that you've been with for a few months. But just what has kind of this group of seniors meant to you, just in different ways of how they've kind of helped build here and maybe just build you up as a coach?
Yeah, I would say veteran experience of just knowing, for one, those that came with me, the system, and helping bridge that gap from what wasn't new for them but new for many players, and then just the overall buy-in from those that stayed. Their work ethic, their commitment to want to do it the right way as a team, I think it says a lot about them, and they've helped us significantly. We're going to miss them for sure. There's some great players in this class, and we need to make sure that we honor them the right way.
Are there any guys that aren't seniors that have eligibility that are just deciding to move on?
Not that I know of right now.
And then just 7 missed tackles on Saturday. I know that was a big emphasis early on in the season, some of the struggles with it, but it's felt like the last few weeks that has been a positive trend. Just what have you seen out of maybe the team and how they've improved tackling and just the overall art of wrapping up?
Yeah, I think it comes down to working the technique all the time in practice, and we don't bang anymore really at practice, just what we can't with the amount of injuries, but it comes down to the space that you have in front of you and your speed of your breakdown prior to coming in on the tackle, not dropping your head, not getting a wide base, keeping your elbows in tight with your near foot up on contact, and really hammering that home and working the detail of how to come in on tackles. We work it every week, just in our angle pursuit. You also have to trust your teammates that they're going to play with the same type of effort if we're going to be a great tackling team, because you're not always guaranteed to be the most athletic, but if you play together, you can have success. It's understanding the scheme of where help is at inside of the play itself and the angle in which you're coming from. So that will have to consistently be a theme moving forward, whether it's this upcoming week or as we move into the future. We got to continue to play together, and I think on that side of the ball, you can surely see that.
After the game on Saturday, you said you wanted your guys to not reach for things outside of their scope to do.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could kind of expand on that and kind of what you meant by that.
It's everything from do your job with the right focus and always do it the same way. At times when, things that could have been taught were taught, they get the look, and then they kind of reach to do some more just to be a part of the play, and they don't execute fully their technique. And it could be an old lineman taking his eyes through his gap to clear his gap to climb to a linebacker that's out in front of him and stay on his track, to the wide receiver running the right route, inside adjusting, to a defensive player, starting to pull on the quarterback when that's not his technical job. Some of it just comes down to a focus thing. I don't think any of it is selfish. If I felt that way, they wouldn't play. It's just staying consistent with how they go about it and not reach to do other things inside of just their job.
Last 3 second halves on the road, you guys have 6 total points. You've had the lead in all those games. Do you feel like you're getting, conservative at all with the play calling in those spots?
Yeah, I wish, I've said this after the game when we were backed up there, when we got the fourth down stop, they controlled the clock for what I believe was 8.5 minutes on their opening drive in the second half. We were able to get the fourth down stop in the red zone, which was pivotal. And then trying to get out of that area, just because that's a scary area to be in when you're backed up. We were able to get the first down. And then I regret not being maybe more aggressive from that point on. We flipped the field, and then that's kind of the fickle part of sports is one play killed us to tie it, right? And then I felt like we should have been maybe more aggressive or creative the rest of the way. And, yeah, some of those things. It's frustrating. We also have to execute the same things that we executed the first half. The right way, and that's kind of goes back to staying true to the technique, true to your actual responsibility, not letting the moment or the feel of pressure get the best of you to do things that aren't really your job.
You've talked a lot about the seniors over this season, but especially to have guys like Tucker Large and Caleb Francel follow you here. What do they have in common that has allowed them to succeed at this FBS level?
Yeah, I would say gritty, tough kids that have been doubted their whole life, worked extremely hard to become the player that they are, really focused, really about the team and the team having success, being selfless, and just having a true spirit about wanting to win and what it takes to win.
Obviously, facing Oregon State again, Anthony Hankerson, the running back, had a lot of success last time. But what are some of the keys to limiting his impact on the game?
Yeah, I think tackling in space, setting edges on the defense, making sure that we are physical up front and control the line of scrimmage. All things that I would say every week that it's important to stop a great running back. I thought the running back from last week was, really good. And going into half, we had kind of held their whole offense into check, and it takes one play for a great player to make a play. So it's the same thing this week. They have talent. They play hard. They do a good job up front, and we got to make sure that we're not taking anybody for granted or checking out because we got a game to finish, and I do believe in finishing as much as it may not seem like I put emphasis on that. I mean, we break everything down on focus finish. We have since we started here. We have an opportunity to be bowl eligible. We've been competitive against a lot of really good teams. There is no out. We've lost, and we got to find ways to win, and that's on me and the staff and the players buying into it regardless of the record itself.
You had mentioned, those 4 losses by a combined 12 points. When you think of those games, is it solely frustration that you're that close and can't finish? Is it encouraging that you're that close and maybe a couple things could swing the game, or is it somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think it's perception that maybe you have to look at it both ways. But for me, I'm more trend on we're there. Nobody can judge how hard we play. You turn on the film, you can't say that we don't play hard, and we haven't been physical. And outside of 2 games, the UW game got away from us late. We were competitive in that versus a really talented team. North Texas, that was the game that just fell apart on us. In the 4 other games, 3 of those teams are ranked, and we just didn't come out and play well versus Oregon State. Would I love to have those games back? Absolutely. Is it frustration? Everybody could say, well, we should have, or if we could have won one of those games. I can't live in the past. I could just control how we move and the thought process and having the right mindset moving into the future. And that is right now. It's trying to be present and finish out this season the right way with a mindset that we're going to a bowl game and we have no other option. And we need to get it done no matter what. And I think these seniors deserve our best, and so that's where our focus will be. It's not going to be on the poor me's or sulking in what we haven't done because that's over with. We still have, the potential of 2 games, and I would expect to win both of them.
I think We might have asked you this, kind of at the start of fall camp, but for you now with the full season of seeing it, what has it been like for you seeing, seniors that you knew so well from South Dakota State kind of blend with the seniors that had stayed here, and how those two separate units had now come together to be one team?
From the outside looking in, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see a lot of guys come together, be different in their background of how they've gotten here, and still find joy in each other, find a common bond of competing together and wanting to have excel at a high level. And I think it's a good sign as far as the culture of the program. 75 new players, that ain't easy. It's not easy to have immediate success. I probably took that part for granted, and I'm not giving myself an out. It could be so much better than what we've finished to this point, but I think that you could see a culture when things don't go your way, and see the resolve in the players and the commitment to each other, and that just doesn't happen overnight. That's a commitment of trying to blend a lot of people together and commit to their role on the team, which at times may not always be the role that the player wants, right? And with 75 new players, there could be some selfishness in that, and there hasn't been a whole lot of that. The guys have bought in and committed to each other and the voice, and we just need to finish and be better in certain areas to have more success.
Coach, obviously it's maybe a little bit of a unique situation seeing Oregon State twice so close together. Is it a matter of just executing your game plan better this time around, or is it, changing your approach maybe a little bit this time?
Obviously, you got to look at the scope of what they've done this year, what are their, consistent theme of what they do, and then being able to prepare for new in the game as well. They really have nothing to lose. It could be a lot of trick plays. It could be a lot of nuances. It could be, special teams things here and there. We need to make sure that we're focused and not just take for granted what is a talented team. Some games have slipped away from them, and then with the firing of their coach puts another distraction on their players' mind of, are they going to stay there? Are they not going to stay there? It's just kind of a unique scenario that they're in, and can't really be focused on the mindset of their players when I need to focus on the mindset of our players. And yeah, it won't be the same. I don't think it can be. They're a well-coached team, with the staff that's still in place, and they're going to come play with their hair on fire and play physical, and we got to make sure that we come out and do what we should do and play with the right physicality and mindset and competitiveness that it takes to win games.
And Coach, can you just talk about what you want to see from your group this week in this practices, preparation? What do you want to see from them?
Yeah, a level of gratitude by how they go about their work. I mean, you grow up wanting to play college football, and sometimes when you're a freshman, you think it will never end, and then before you know it, you're 5 years in and you're wishing it never ended. So, level of gratitude to these seniors, a certain level of spirit about how they practice and energy, a consistency. They have the week off this week as far as school, so making sure that they're doing all the little things still to give their best to the team, I think, is extremely important. So yeah, the investment needs to be the same. The spirit needs to be the same. They have one guaranteed week right now with this team and the relationships that have formed, and I don't want anybody to take those things for granted, because every team, regardless of players stay or not, you hope that the culture bleeds again into the next year and the expectations are even higher, right? But at the same time, these are human beings that make up a roster. It is the personality of a team stems from the players that are going to be graduating. We got a lot of players that are impact players for us in a starting rotation that are seniors. So we'll deal with what the team looks like in the off season. But right now the focus is on making sure that we finish the season.
Talk about the mindset that you're instilling into this group, but what does it mean to you as a coach and for your team to have one more time to go out and play in front of this home crowd?
Yeah, I think it means a lot, and I hopefully, those that follow Washington State know how important this is to our players, and hopefully they show up in the right capacity to cheer on us. I know last game wasn't what we wanted in attendance, but I think in order for us to grow and have consistent growth, it starts from not just myself and the staff or the players. It's everybody. It's the community of Pullman, and it is the WSU fan base that comes out and supports your team, because we'll have recruits on campus again this week. And we have to do it that way because signing day is coming up. And hopefully they see a spirited crowd that wants to cheer on the Cougs.
How do the emotions of the whole senior week and leading up to that senior day ceremony pregame hit you differently as a head coach now versus maybe how it hit you as an assistant or especially as a player?
You're just impacted by so many more players. It used to be just like you had relationships. Not that it didn't hit you the same. It's different. You cherish the success of every position group because you're technically responsible for the whole picture of everything. When you're just an assistant, you kind of have the built-in relationships inside your group, and we try to do a good job of positionally just as coaches connecting with not just your group, but trying to get to know everybody on the team and go to work with a sense of spirit, sense of family. But yeah, I think it's emotional for me, for many players that came with me, to those that stayed and entrusted in me, and to those from the outside that came in with a certain level of belief that we'd have success. And so when we don't have necessarily the success, and I've felt like this forever, and I don't know how people view success, but I think that they will leave here knowing that we as a staff gave it our best shot, and hopefully that matters to them. But I'd be reluctant to say that I feel a sense of failure in the sense of, not living up to what I said I would. And that's tough. It's tough to swallow as a coach. But again, I can't dwell on the past. My focus is on this team and what we are, and putting in perspective of how many new players there are and what we can be next year if we learn from the mistakes from this season. So at the end of the day, we're still focused on right now and capturing what can be a bowl game and going out and having success, to finish out the season.
You talked with Yogi Roth last week kind of about being a CEO, and you kind of look at, obviously you're preparing for this last game of the regular season, trying to get to a bowl, and as you mentioned, you also have signing day in a week. Just how much has that kind of role changed from what the head coach maybe once was, where you've got a week span to kind of try and get yourself into that 13th game, also try to finalize your signing class?
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot of things outside of football right now in college football. I try to watch all these games almost in damn near fast forward motion, just like making sure that I'm aware of what teams do and ask questions to the staff to make sure certain things are addressed. It's putting my faith in the staff that they're taking the true detail in everything that's being coached and being on the same page. But yeah, there's a lot of balance between what's asked and what's needed through NIL, through recruiting. It's every step of the way. There's a lot of schools that come in late on your players that have been committed, right? And so trying to make sure that you stay in touch with your commits, to making sure that you're connecting with other recruits as well, to understanding that how the roster can change based off of who's getting reached on your team. It's a challenge for sure. It's that something in college football needs to change as far as the rules and how things are going about the situation with how much kids are getting paid. I'm all in favor of the players getting a cut. It's just kind of, there's levels to all of this, and there's extremes in certain situations, and yeah, you have to be aware of everything. And with that, trying to promote the culture and the brand of Washington State, and making sure that people want to come and be a part of a game day, I think is extremely important. I mean, I think it starts there. But we need to do our part as a staff in order to create wins. People want to come out and see a winning product. So yeah, there's a lot of steps to it. I don't even know if that answers your question. You just got my mind racing on all the things that I'm still thinking about. Yeah, nowadays there's quite a bit more than just coaching a football team.
I think it's 43% of the team's points this year have come in the second quarter. I think it's 98 of 225, I want to say. Has there been something that has shown that you've seen on tape of these games that maybe flips in the second quarter that just isn't there in the other three? Or what's kind of maybe your theory or explanation for kind of why that is?
I've tried to do those studies before in years past, but this year is a little unique in as far as how consistent the theme was. So, I mean, I've been trying to figure out what the issue is and how we're doing things. And I'm going to reassess it, and maybe it is just a kind of a flip of a mentality more than anything else. In no way have we come out of the second half and said, like, well, let's just try to, be passive. Let's get the team back into it by letting them score. That's just not the case. This last game, speaking to that, they had a great play where they took the shot on us. We're a little bit undisciplined with our eyes. Then that's how it was graded. Kid tucked the ball, stepped 3 yards into the line of scrimmage. They were having success running the quarterback. Maybe more than anything was just maybe alerting our defense of watch this type of play, especially that being a common play. We covered the one early in the game where they tried to do it very similar, just out of a different formational set. We slipped on a stunt, and the ball creased us right in the gap that we slipped in. Those things happen. We've done that blitz stunt so many times this season to where it's been stopped. And if we execute, it's not an explosive play, and nobody thinks anything of it. So there are things in games where you're going to make mistakes, and it's how you respond from those and the energy in which you take the field, the energy in which the next group takes the field, believing that they can go win. But yeah, surely we'll look at kind of the steps that we've taken, and we have been, and we got to make a change, because obviously in the second half we just haven't played the best offensively for sure.
And then what's, if you know the status of Brock, Carter, Leo, and I'm missing someone. Brock, Carter, Leo, and Kale this week.
Ooh, they're all kind of very similar, and I'm not just saying that. Kale, we got to see how his hand is healing up. Believe he'll be able to play. Leo will be in a non-contact situation. He's been able to respond quickly. I think he'll be able to give us something. Brock is up in the air, probably highly doubtful. Just see where that sits. And then the last one was Carter. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to go. He looked I know he wants to practice. So we're going to see how he looks during the week, and it's the same ankle as before, so maybe the recovery turnaround is faster after you sprain it twice.
I know you mentioned Tucker earlier, but what was, years ago, what was your first impression of him, and could you have seen him, kind of blossoming into the kind of player he is now?
Tucker Large?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tucker's got a unique story because he was a high school corner that played basketball. He's a really small player that we took a shot on at South Dakota State. Mason McCormick, who's the starting guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers, same high school teammate, really kept standing on the table for him as a player. Mason McCormick was such a big part of our football program and what we all wanted the team to embody. And when a guy like that is adamant about trying to add another player that's as competitive as him, we gave him a shot. Obviously, his film is good. He's just small, right? And so if you can imagine 150-pound version of Tuck, but we gave him a shot, and he worked his butt off. He's always been really competitive. He's always been wanting to grow. There was doubt in his early years. You could just see it on his face, maybe a little bit of lack of confidence of will he play. An opportunity opened up to where he was able to kind of start getting some reps at safety, and then he had maybe his largest impact when we played Northern Iowa. We played him in like a nickel position, and he took more of an expanded role. And he kind of just kept working at it, and the very next year with a full off season with a guy that we felt like could take the next step in his career, became an All-American punt returner, All-American safety, and followed that up with another great year last year. He's grown into his own. He's extremely confident, and now he has about every NFL team asking about him. So it's a cool story because he's not doesn't fit the intangible mode that everybody's looking for, but he fits everything that you look for as far as a competitor and a worker and one that's willing to lay his body on the line for the team. And yeah, I'm proud of Tuck. He's meant a lot to me.
Season you mentioned he became an All-American and kind of broke out. What I guess here, let me pivot real quick. What has he just like meant to you in general? Obviously a little bit emotional. What has he just over these years? What has he kind of meant to you overall?
I think my joy comes from coaching players like Duck. Like guys that just are willing to listen, willing to work hard, and then go do it the right way with the right type of spirit and competitiveness, and don't settle for just a good game here and there. Want to be great, regardless of their intangibles. They're always on and compete and bring the best out of people. And if anything, he's grown into a great leader and a great voice to our youth of the team, and that's here or at SDSU. He's been pivotal, and for him to come here and help the build of a team, I'm in debt to all those guys. So he means a lot. I've been with him since a walk-on to an All-American and a guy that's going to probably see himself be in the NFL. It's a cool story, and he deserves a lot of credit. And he's worked his butt off to become the player that he is. It's cool to see.
Last one kind of off the wall for you. You guys have gone on all these long flights, whether to Mississippi or Virginia twice, then depending on if you get to a bowl and where that one would be. What do you and the team do on these long flights? Are you watching movies or film, or how do you kind of kill that time?
Well, I'm in the front of the plane. I don't see what's all the way in the back of the plane, but probably a lot of movies, hanging out together. Those are some of the things when you graduate. Those are the things that you remember. It's not even just football. It's the moments that you have outside of football. It's the locker room. It's the relationships that matter. Because 20 years from now, nobody remembers the record. 5 years from now, there's a whole nother set of complaints and articles about either how great you are or how bad we are. So for the players, it is about the connection of people. Yeah. I honestly don't know how bad it is really to fly across the country. I think a little bit, I've said this before, I think it's harder for the East Coast and the Midwest schools to come out west than it is for the West Coast schools to go out that way. Is it long? Is it convenient? No, this schedule has been somewhat unique. And I don't think when anybody planned this schedule that they expected all these teams, these 6 teams or 5 of the 6 teams that we've lost to end up having a record of something as crazy as what they've had. What'd you say, Bill? How many teams are bowl eligible? 8 teams. So 8 of the 11. Nobody said it was going to be easy. I don't expect it to be easy. I don't want it to be easy. We just need to get better, and we need to finish. And if more than anything, I hope the youth of this team realizes how we lost games, how we felt inside of games, the emotion that came with maybe what turned into closing out a game to feeling like you're on your heels at times. Hopefully he can learn from that, because I would tell you in my past that's how we learned. We went through this trial. We weren't always perfect, and we weren't always dominant. We grew into dominant through experience and through the knowing of having been there in the past, and that stems from a core group of players that stick together.
Seen from Caleb Franzel and his journey, and does it surprise you at all that he is where he is today?
No. I saw Caleb Franzel at a summer prospect camp, and he was with a different group than the group that I was watching, and Coach Bobbitt brought him over, and we had worked with him specifically. Really undersized. I mean, you think he's undersized now. And he still is, but the reality is he plays hard and he plays fast and he's fearless, and those things showed up at camp, and he's never changed. Had the opportunity to coach him for multiple years in the position room and just see how he's grown and kind of the ups and downs of his career with tearing his ACL, which, he had a breakout, camp and starts versus Iowa and picks a ball off versus Iowa and tears his ACL in the midst of returning an interception. loses a year, rebounds, comes back, has pivotal plays in the next season, has a huge year last year for us, and then gets hurt again at the end of the season. So there's been ups and downs in his career. The one thing that's always stayed consistent is his work ethic and his dedication and his overall willingness to put his body on the line for his teammates. And I'm proud of him, too. He's a non-scholarship player, too. That's proven that he's can do it at this level for sure.
Those injuries, what was kind of your insight into his mindset and how he approached those setbacks?
Obviously frustrated, but wanting to prove himself right. If you just hear the stories of this whole football team, it's built of guys that nobody believed in. So to coach so many of them with a common spirit, it's honestly a joy because they work extremely hard. And it's not just a couple of those guys. It's a litter of these seniors that deserve our best.
And then just to pivot, obviously a tough year, but what have you seen from Coach Freund over the course of the season? And how have you seen him grow, and what areas would you like to see him and you and the whole staff grow offensively?
Yeah, I would say continuity and trying to figure out ways to have success with a bunch of players with different skill sets, and not just trying to do the same thing over and over. At times we've gotten away from things inside of games that we've had success. On Saturday, we went into half at 226 total yards. We were having success running the football. We were having success in the air. We just kind of got stagnant, and they did a good job of stopping some of the things that we had done early on in the game. And nobody's more frustrated than him as far as, maybe the lack of production that we've had in the second half of games. And we just need to continue to stay aggressive and trust in our players and not just expect things to happen. We got to make sure that we're putting our players in position to have success. And so I know he's trying hard at that. The whole offensive staff is. I think it's about finding a niche and a culture, right, on your side of the ball, and he's working really hard to do that.
Things are not working like that. What's your relationship with Danny? What are you telling him, and how are you guys kind of emotionally and also just trying to navigate that and get the results that you want?
Yeah, I think more than anything is going into a game with answers off of what they've shown on film, and then having an answer of how they may respond inside of the game, and trying to create different ways to do the same thing if they're having success, but not show your hand on this is the same formation in the same exact play. But at the same time, a little bit, don't try to get too creative if things are working, right? So there's a fine line between it all, because you'd hate to do things outside of when you start to reach for creativity, but you didn't need to get to that if something was working. And so we need to make sure that we're balanced in both and put our guys in position to have success. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're putting together this week as its own week, and we need to focus on how they've attacked us in the past and be ready for maybe some of the things that they've shown this season that we didn't get in the last game. Doesn't mean that they're not going to do it to us. So having answers and creating answers, that part I wish we've done a better job of, and I put that just on me as much as anything else.